The peak form of Italy was the Roman Empire, which had an area of 5 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world for a long time. The Roman Empire, originating in 27 BCE, was a powerful ancient state centered around Rome. It expanded through military conquests and became a hub of culture, law, and engineering. Notable emperors include Augustus, Nero, and Marcus Aurelius. The empire faced decline due to economic issues, invasions, and internal strife, leading to its eventual fall in 476 CE, marking the end of ancient Rome. The peak form of China was the Qing dynasty, which had an area of 13 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power.
The Qing dynasty was the last imperial dynasty in China, ruling from 1644 to 1912. It was established by the Manchu people after they overthrew the Ming dynasty. The Qing dynasty expanded China's territory, reaching its greatest extent under Emperor Kangxi and Qianlong. However, internal issues, including corruption and resistance to foreign influence, contributed to its decline. The dynasty faced challenges like the Opium Wars and the Taiping Rebellion, and in 1912, the Qing dynasty fell with the establishment of the Republic of China,
which had an area of 7.4 million square kilometers and was the 7th strongest military power.
The Empire of Japan existed from the late 19th century to the end of World War II in 1945. It was a constitutional monarchy with an emperor as the symbolic figurehead and a government led by elected officials. Japan rapidly modernized during the Meiji Restoration, becoming an industrial and military power. In the 20th century, Japan engaged in imperial expansion, leading to conflicts like the Russo-Japanese War, and Japan played a significant role in World War II, surrendering in 1945 after atomic bombings. Post-war, Japan adopted a constitutional monarchy, embracing democracy, and renouncing military aggression in its 1947 constitution.
The peak form of Greece was the Macedonian Empire, which had an area of 5.2 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Macedonian Empire, led by Alexander the Great, existed from 336 to 323 BCE. Alexander, a skilled military commander, rapidly conquered a vast empire stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and parts of India. His conquest spread Hellenistic culture and knowledge, but after Alexander's death, his empire fragmented into smaller states led by his generals, marking the end of the Macedonian Empire.
The peak form of Germany was Nazi Germany, which had an area of 3.7 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world. Nazi Germany, under the leadership of the Austrian painter from 1933 to 1945, was a totalitarian state that aimed at establishing a pure Aryan authoritarian empire. Fueled by extreme nationalism, the regime aggressively expanded through territorial conquests, triggering the devastating conflict of World War II. The regime's control extended through strict censorship, propaganda, and oppressive policies. However, military defeats and the Allied forces' advancement led to the eventual downfall of the Nazi Germany in 1945. The peak form of Russia was the Russian Empire, which had an area of 22.8 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Russian Empire was a vast historical state that existed from the late 17th century until the Russian Revolution in 1917. It began with the reign of Peter the Great and expanded to become one of the largest empires, covering Eastern Europe, Northern Asia, and Alaska. The empire played a significant role in European geopolitics and global affairs. It went through periods of modernization and cultural growth, but faced internal challenges and eventual collapse during the revolutions of 1917, leading to the establishment of the Soviet Union.
The peak form of Mongolia was the Mongol Empire, which had an area of 24 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Mongol Empire was a massive empire founded by Genghis Khan in the early 13th century. It became the largest contiguous empire in history, spanning Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Known for their skilled horseback warfare, the Mongols conquered vast territories, fostering trade, cultural exchange, and religious tolerance. After Genghis Khan's death, his descendants continued expanding the empire. However, internal conflicts and external pressures eventually led to the empire's fragmentation in the late 14th century.
The peak form of Britain was the British Empire, which had an area of 35.5 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The British Empire was a vast historical empire that existed from the 16th to the mid-20th century. It originated with overseas exploration, trade, and colonization by England, and at its height, the The empire spanned continents, including territories in North America, Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. The British Empire played a significant role in global history, shaping cultures, economies, and political systems. But over time, decolonization led to the empire's decline, with many former colonies gaining independence.
The peak form of Spain was the Spanish Empire, which had an area of 13.7 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power.
The Spanish Empire was a major global power from the late 15th to the 19th century, with its peak during the 16th and 17th centuries. Spain's exploration and conquests led to an empire that spanned the Americas, parts of Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. Famous for figures like Christopher Columbus and Hernán Cortés, Spain amassed wealth from colonies through activities like gold and silver mining. However, internal issues, conflicts, and changing global dynamics contributed to the decline of the empire, marked by the loss of territories and influence over time.
The peak form of Turkey was the Ottoman Empire, which had an area of 5.2 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world for a long time. The Ottoman Empire, founded around 1299, was a major Islamic state that spanned Southeast Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa. It reached its peak under Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. Known for religious tolerance and military strength, the Ottomans lasted until World War I when the empire dissolved. The Republic of Turkey, led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, emerged from its ashes in 1923. The peak form of India was the Maurya Empire, which had an area of 5 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world. The Maurya Empire, lasting from 322 to 185 BC, was a powerful ancient Indian dynasty. Founded by Chandragupta Maurya and later expanded by Ashoka the Great, it covered much of the Indian subcontinent. Known for its administrative efficiency and Ashoka's embrace of Buddhism, the Maurya Empire eventually declined after Ashoka's rule, facing internal turmoil and external invasions. The peak form of Portugal was the Second Portuguese Empire, which had an area of 4.5 million and was the fifth strongest military power in the world. The Second Portuguese Empire refers to Portugal's global influence from the 15th to the 20th century. It emerged after the Age of Exploration, marked by explorers like Vasco da Gama and Pedro Álvares Cabral. Portugal established trade routes, colonies, and a vast maritime network reaching Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The empire declined due to economic challenges and conflicts, with the formal dissolution of its last overseas territory in 2002. The peak form of Iran was the Achaemenid Empire, which had an area of 5.5 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world. The Achaemenid Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great in 550 BC, was one of the ancient world's largest empires. Stretching from Asia Minor to the Indus Valley, it embraced diverse cultures. Darius I organized the empire into satrapies with a royal road system. However, it fell to Alexander the Great in 330 BC, marking the end of Achaemenid rule and the start of Hellenistic influence in the region. The peak form of Mexico was the First Mexican Empire, which had an area of 4.9 million square kilometers and was the 10th strongest military power in the world. The First Mexican Empire was established in 1821 after Mexico gained independence from Spanish rule. Agustín de Iturbide, a military leader, became emperor but faced opposition, leading to his abdication in 1823. The empire was short-lived and Mexico later became a republic. The peak form of Syria was the Umayyad Caliphate, which had an area of 13 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Umayyad Caliphate was an early Islamic empire that existed from 661 to 750 CE. It was established after the assassination of Ali, the fourth caliph, and had its capital in Damascus. The Umayyads expanded their rule across the Middle East, North Africa, and Spain, creating a vast empire. Known for architectural achievements like the Dome of the Rock, the Caliphate faced internal strife, particularly the rivalry between the Umayyad and Abbasid factions, and the Abbasids eventually overthrew the Umayyads, leading to the end of their caliphate.
The peak form of Uzbekistan was the Timurid Empire, which had an area of 4 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world. The Timurid Empire, founded by Tamerlane in the late 14th century, spanned Central Asia and Persia. Known for its architectural achievements and cultural patronage, it flourished in the 15th century under Timur's descendants, including Ulugh Beg.
but the empire weakened after internal conflicts and external pressures, eventually dissolving in the early 16th century.
The peak form of Brazil was the Brazilian Empire, which had an area of 8.5 million square kilometers and was the 9th strongest military power in the world.
The Empire of Brazil existed from 1822 to 1889. It was a constitutional monarchy with Pedro IV and later Pedro II as emperors. Brazil gained independence from Portugal in 1822, and during the empire experienced economic growth, abolition of the slave trade, and cultural development. But the monarchy was abolished in 1889, leading to the establishment of the Brazilian Republic.
The peak form of Denmark was the Danish Empire, which had an area of 2.5 million square kilometers and was the 15th strongest military power in the world. During the 17th century, the Danish Empire emerged as a formidable maritime power, extending its reach across Europe, the Americas, Africa, and Asia. Strengthened by a formidable navy, Denmark-Norway held territories including Greenland and parts of India. However, as the 19th century unfolded, the empire faced setbacks through territorial losses and conflicts, prompting a shift in focus. Denmark adapted to changing times, transforming into a constitutional monarchy and gradually relinquishing its imperial aspirations. The peak form of France was the Napoleonic Empire, which had an area of 2.5 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Napoleonic Empire, also known as the French Empire, was established by Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon rose to power rapidly, becoming first consul of France in 1799 and later declaring himself emperor in 1804. His empire encompassed much of continental Europe at its height, including France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Spain, parts of Germany, Poland, and various satellite states. His conquests were characterized by swift military victories and the implementation of revolutionary ideas. Napoleon's rule brought about significant political, legal, and social reforms, collectively known as the Napoleonic Code, which influenced legal systems across Europe and beyond. However, Napoleon's expansionist policies and military campaigns sparked widespread conflict across Europe. He faced coalitions of European powers determined to halt his expansion, leading to a series of wars known as the Napoleonic Wars. Despite early military successes, Napoleon's empire began to unravel after his disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 and subsequent defeats in battles such as Leipzig and Waterloo. He was exiled to the island of Elba in 1814 after his first abdication, but briefly returned to power during the 100 Days in 1815 before being defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, which led to the fall of his empire.
The peak form of Egypt was ancient Egypt, which had an area of more than 1 million square kilometers and was the strongest military power in the world.
Ancient Egypt, a civilization born along the Nile, flourished for millennia. Its legacy encompasses pharaohs, pyramids, and hieroglyphs. From the unification under Narmer to the conquest by Alexander the Great, Egypt's history spans over 3,000 years. Monuments like the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx stand as enduring symbols of its greatness. Hieroglyphs, a complex writing system, documented their beliefs, rituals, and daily life. Religion played a central role, with gods like Ra, Isis, and Osiris shaping their worldview. The society was structured, with pharaohs ruling as god-kings, priests managing rituals, and artisans crafting wonders. The Nile River was vital, providing fertile land for agriculture and transportation. Despite its splendor, Egypt faced invasions, internal strife, and decline. The Ptolemaic period saw Greek influence, leading to Cleopatra's reign. Ultimately, Egypt fell to Roman conquest in 30 BC, marking the end of an epoch.
The peak form of Iraq was the Abbasid Caliphate, which had an area of 11 million and was the strongest military power in the world.
The Abbasid Caliphate was one of the most influential Islamic dynasties, ruling from 750 to 1258 CE. It's known for its golden age of Islamic civilization, marked by advancements in science, art, and philosophy. The Caliphate was founded by Abu al-Abbas al-Safa, after overthrowing the Umayyad Caliphate. Under the Abbasids, Baghdad became the capital and a center of learning. They promoted translation of Greek, Persian, and Indian texts, fostering intellectual growth. However, internal strife, external invasions, and the rise of regional powers led to its decline by the 10th century. The Mongol invasion in 1258 marked the end of the Abbasid Caliphate.
The peak form of Poland was the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which had an area of 1 million square kilometers and was the 10th strongest military power in the world.
The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, often termed the Polish Empire, was a significant power in 16th and 17th century Europe.
Established in 1569 through the Union of Lublin, it united the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania into a vast state stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. The Commonwealth's political system was also distinctive. It had a relatively decentralized government with a weak monarchy, as the king's powers were limited by the nobility, who held significant influence through the parliament. Despite its strengths, internal strife and external pressures led to its gradual decline. The Commonwealth faced constant threats from neighboring powers such as Russia, Sweden, and the Ottoman Empire. Additionally, internal divisions and conflicts between the nobility weakened its ability to respond effectively to these external challenges. However, the spirit of Polish nationalism and aspirations for independence persisted to the re-establishment of Poland as a sovereign state in 1918, after World War I and the collapse of the partitioning empires. The peak form of Austria and Hungary was the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which had an area of 676,000 square kilometers and was the sixth strongest military power in the world. Austro-Hungarian Empire, officially known as the Dual Monarchy of Austria Hungary, was a multi-ethnic empire in Central Europe that existed from 1867 to 1918. It was formed when the Austro-Hungarian Compromise of 1867 granted significant autonomy to the Kingdom of Hungary within the empire, creating a dual monarchy with separate governments and parliaments for Austria and Hungary, while sharing a common monarch, army, and foreign policy. The empire was comprised of a diverse array of ethnic groups, including Austrians, Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Ukrainians, Croats, Serbs, Romanians, Italians, and others. However, tensions between the various ethnic groups, exacerbated by nationalist movements, contributed to the empire's eventual dissolution following World War I.